But you know, again, the point is to make people comfortable with reality. I'm not going to say alternative reality, but to a reality. And let them know, just like anything else in life, if you thirst for it, it will manifest. And the manifestation of it will be based upon your assignments. Sometimes church folk, particularly those that are full, and when I say full, I don't mean the amount of people, but full in the expression of spirit. People sometimes get jealous or ask about someone else's anointing or charisms, but may not understand what comes with that, you know? And whatever one's gifting is, there's a price that comes with that. There's a price that comes with that. You know, particularly when I start, I'll give you a slight preview. When we start talking about the realm of travel, outer body experiences, etc., you find yourself waging war with powers and principalities and entities. And however, when you return from that, you have physical marks on your body. That's real. Now, there are some that will argue and say, oh, but I'm telling you what I know. I had a real, I'll tell you this real short, in a couple seconds. When my wife and I were married, the church she was involved with at the time was heavily African. And their archbishop, very, very gifted in the spirit, very powerful. And so he was doing something premarital. So he asked my wife, do you really know who this man is? And the things that he's been exposed to and done. And so he said, did he tell you that he has scars on his body because of spiritual activity? And he was an interesting guy. But anyway, she kind of saw, she said, oh, I know him. But is this, who that from?
That's me. They asked my stroke, and Southern Mental Hospital was so amazed with how I recovered, and so they put me on for the labor, the health manager.
How are you? Fine. You been enjoying the
Oh,
place?
I remember you
Okay.
sharing.
Evening.
I knew who it was. I was just waiting for you to say it was your twin.
Yeah, no, yeah, me. That was
You still playing the little hand drum?
my second. God gave me a son. Right. So yeah, it is my twin.
Hello, baby.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I was just about to ask you if you had boxing gloves,
Hi.
but I ain't gotta ask.
I just see you love her.
Yeah, but I love her. I never hit her though.
That's funny. You know why that's funny, don't you? I fixed it. Show you how to register.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know Lily could do that.
I would have never guessed that.
Really?
No, I'm.
He sees it.
No, oh yeah, no, I know.
Very.
They may be in here.
Namaste, my brothers and sisters.
Namaste.
This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it.
Okay.
I am guilty of always having a song in my heart, and this should be a familiar song because the words of the song are familiar. And the song goes like this: Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray: to see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day by day by day by day. Probably is as old as I am. It was probably a 60s song, but it's been in my spirit for a long time. Can you sing that with me? Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, three things I pray: to see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day by day by day by day. The song is a prayer. So I believe in opening conversation or starting conversation, group conversation with a prayer. So that is my prayer, that God would allow us to see more clearly, love more dearly, and follow more nearly each day. We've been doing a lot of talking over the last couple of days about our mission statement. And before we go any further, let's recite it to remind ourselves of it. As often as we remind ourselves of it, we are mindful of living it. Together. Imani Temple, African American Catholic congregation, believes that people who do not take ownership and control over their own destiny, moved by the genius of their culture, can never achieve full spiritual, social, economic, political, cultural, educational, and psychological maturity. While Imani Temple AACC is a church in an African-centered paradigm, it is a faith community for all peoples, races, and walks of life. Aha, we got the spirit, the S, and the seep, sep. Seep, sep. Or is it sep seep? It's sep seep. SEP, sep, CEP, seep. Or is it the other way around? Seep, sep. Yes. Okay. Whatever it takes for you to remember. Mm. Do you notice that we say parts of that song before the minister gives um, the homily? Yeah. So, having reaffirmed our mission as a faith community, we will continue with yesterday we talked about spiritual maturity, social maturity, economic maturity, and political maturity. What stood out for you as it relates to spiritual maturity? Did you think about your own spiritual maturity? We were talking about growing stages of development from infancy to children, to adolescents, to young adults, mature adults, and elders. And spiritual maturity does not have anything to do with age. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just getting to that particular place in your life. If you're gonna ask God for something, just let God do what God does best. So that to me was one of the things that for me is reminding me that I am reaching spirituality, a mature spirituality. When I can say I'm just gonna take it to the Lord and expect that it will work out, in God's time.
Anybody else have a thought as it relates to spirituality and your spiritual maturity that you'd like to share? Because there ain't no sense in us talking about somebody else's maturity.
You know,
You know what they say, when you point a finger, you got.
four more coming at you.
Well, it's actually,
Three.
let me see, four. Four.
Okay, four.
Depends on how you point.
I have come to understand and experience that as I maturity first off starts spiritually, mentally, emotionally, then lastly physically, that I'm inclined to say less and be a lot more patient and understand that everyone's journey is their journey. And
Mm-hmm.
people mature based upon their level of understanding, and in addition to that, the level of practice, the level of conscious effort in doing so. At the beginning of the year, multiple people join a gym. 3 months later, 4 months later, 6 months later, a year later, some people have dropped off and some people have met their goal. Those that have not didn't put the work in. And some put the work in, but the result is not the same as the same person based upon how much they really wed themselves to that activity.
Now, as you were talking, I was thinking about how many people actually join a church. And then how many people who join the church actually come to service. And then how many people actually come to service actually take or participate in activities, especially activities like Bible study or I Am Institute or
Joining the ministry.
yes. So that's where we got to put some work in. It's not okay just because a baby grows physically does not mean that they are growing mentally or spiritually, emotionally. So we got to put work in.
Yeah.
Anybody else? If not spiritual, then how about social? We talked about social maturity. There is this push as it relates to getting folk to be socially mature. And you can push to such an extent that people are more into people than they are to themselves. There is a train of thought that would have you to believe that you disappear and you model yourself after somebody else, or you go along to get along. So we have to be careful about this social maturity piece, because it's not about being a socialite and being, life of the party and into everything. It's about honoring and respecting everyone, but not to the extent that you lose yourself. Am I making sense? Because we talk a lot about self-denial, and some people take that to an extreme where they don't even know who they are. They serving others, but they have lost themselves. That's not social maturity. I just want to point that out. I had to point that out. I maybe because it's resonating with me because I at times have been willing to do more for others than I was doing for myself because I was serving God. Okay? And God said, wait a minute. I said, love me and love others as you love yourself. So I got to love me in order to really love others. That was my lesson. And I don't want to see folk learn that lesson the hard way.
It's hard not to learn that lesson the hard way. Because the way society is, well, for me, the way I be thinking,
Mm-hmm.
um, extending myself to the point where I'm giving myself a self denial sort of epiphany, to help serve someone else. Even if I don't um, totally agree with them, but that's their opinion, and I would go out of my way to extend myself to help them in their endeavor, and actually I'm denying myself because that's not my point of view,
We were
and it's
called to
hard.
deny ourselves, take up our cross and follow. Yes.
You know, interestingly, and first off, and I think that it's an attribute of all of the clerics of the AACC, and that is transparency. Because you're not going to go to a lot of
Mm-hmm.
churches and a cleric from the head on down
Mm-hmm.
will do some self-disclosure. And the purpose in that is not to achieve any accolades, but to say, hey, the same struggle you have, we have. And there's a way to overcome it. Now, this whole denying of self is secondary to a command. And
Mm-hmm.
the command is, or the revelation, is that obedience is better than what?
Sacrifice.
So we forget that one. Because the command is love God, your neighbor
As
as
self.
yourself. If you ain't loving you, you're not really loving anyone else.
Nope.
You're practicing a tradition. You're being religious from the standpoint of being robotic. But if something is adding stress to you, it's not healthy for you. I'm not talking about the stressors that come in life. Those are going to come. There's some things that can't be denied. But there's some stresses that we do because we've been convinced by a larger society that, oh, I'm supposed to just be a doormat. No, you're not.
Give
You have
and
a right
give
to
until
say
you
no.
can't give no more and you don't have nothing left for yourself.
You have a right as a believer in the Most High. You have a right to say no to somebody. You can draw lines called boundaries,
Yes.
and it's okay. At 2 o'clock in the morning,
Ha.
you look at that phone and you say, well, you know what? They've been here long enough. They've had enough teaching. Let them work it out with the Creator, because I'm not taking this call.
I have been my mother. She does it in the spirit now, but she used to do it audibly in the flesh and tell me I'm not God. Now I am a God, but God, the God that watches over all of us. I have been guilty of getting a phone call in 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody had a need. And I put my baby in the car and I went to see about them. And I had to examine my motivation for that. And I had to repent. I woke my baby up, put her on my hip, put her in the car and took her where she's supposed to be sleep in bed. My priorities were out of order. And that could have, what they were experiencing could have waited. And sometimes we need to wait. We don't get our answers or our needs met right away. Even with babies, when you first get them, you want to, you know, soon as they cry. But then you learn to let them cry for a minute before you respond so that they can learn. If you always answer your children's cry when they cry and you don't let them learn, then your children will not mature. Yep. And we talked about economic maturity. Did anything resonate with you as far as economic maturity is concerned?
Well, my maturity level economically is being tested. I recently retired,
Yeah,
and
that'll test it.
I had signed for one of my children student loan about 10 years ago, I'll say, and I was under the impression that once she got stable, you know, she would take the responsibility of the loan. But I found out that since I signed for it in
Mm.
my name, it's my responsibility. And I say all that to say, um, Department of Education sent me a nice love letter about 6 months ago, telling me that they were garnishing my check,
Mm-hmm.
before this loan happened 10 years ago,
Yeah, yeah.
And here I had just recently retired, and I had calculated, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Mama had this much money coming in a month, but only get paid but once a month now,
Mm-hmm.
instead of every 2 weeks. And so my financial economic situation took a turn for, I'm not gonna say the worst, but took a turn.
Took a turn.
Took a turn.
What I say yesterday about the flow in terms of economics, expansion, the peak, the contraction, and the trough. But know when you get to the trough, expansion is coming. That's by faith. God will supply all of your needs.
That's the
And
concept that I'm trying to embrace.
mm-hmm,
However, sometimes in my quiet time, and I have to shut myself down because I'll pick up that burden of, okay, what about this? What about that? And then all of a sudden I come to realize and recognize everything is working out.
mm-hmm.
And I have to say
Never
that to
failing,
myself.
working for my good. All things are working for my good.
And I have to say that a lot to myself.
I don't have to worry because He's working for me. And God will give you instructions. You just got to follow the instructions. And at the end of the day, I'm in that boat. I'm in that boat. That boat. Now, I regret that you brought it up, but you brought it up because I asked you. I was able to pay my own school debt off, but then I had to get my child out of school. So, huh, one day at a time. That's all I'm asking. What?
Another thing is you don't take, a lot of people really take in other people's expectations and act on their expectations. When in fact the Lord put everybody on this earth, it was an equal opportunity. But if you are allowed to let them expect that this is what you're going to do, and don't give them a chance to really, um, if somebody's, I'm going to lay back and let somebody do it for me. If they can do that, and if they expect me to expect them to do that. But everybody grows up, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that a lot of times, economic maturity also um, hinges on you not accepting somebody's expectations. They have
What did I say?
opportunities.
Live and learn?
Yes, I mean, when I went to college, first of all, I knew I wasn't too But
Mhm.
anything I got was a gift. So I went to college. I did work study. I had scholarships. I had, so I made it work. But when the kids don't, I mean, and these kids have such a, um, you know, entitlement mentality
Right.
until and then everybody, all of the, I had to talk to my nephew about this because he has a son, and his son lives with his mother, and my nephew pays child support, but the mother doesn't let any of that trickle down to the child. So now he's out of high school, he's going to college. He has a scholarship at a college in Kansas because he runs track. He doesn't. He wants to go to an A or whatever school, so he doesn't want to take that scholarship. So what he wants to do is go to Montgomery 2 year
Community
college.
college.
He's going to then have to stay with his mother, and then even though my nephew has stopped child support, he's going to still have to support him because he's with his mother. And I was telling my nephew he needs to go to the school that's going to give him the scholarship where he'll be
Wisdom.
eating, he'll be sleeping. Otherwise, you are allowing him to put those, to put his expectations of what you're supposed to give him as a father, and it's just burdening you. You can't get out of all of the debts that you're in because even though he was paying him $1,000 a month, none of that. The kids would always call him, I don't have anything to eat. I need this for this, and he would do it. I'm saying what you're doing is you're writing a continuation of that. Tell him he's going to Kansas,
Mhm.
and he's going to take track scholarship, but then he doesn't have anything. He's not bringing anything to the table. Yes, yet he can say, but I don't want to go there. I'm going to go here, and then it's going to all be on him again. So that's what I'm saying. We have to, when we're talking about maturity, we
Mhm.
have to stop letting people slap their expectations onto you. If they decide they want to do that, then let them do it. But then they have to put it. Instead of you footing everything, they need to look at it and sit down and see where are your options.
Mhm.
You know.
It's interesting. I have a sister.
This is the last comment on economics.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I have a sister
I didn't mean to take.
No, it's fine.
who she's an attorney. Her youngest daughter received a full scholarship to an excellent school, and I can't remember what school it is right now. And she decided she wanted to follow in mommy's footsteps and go to UVA. UVA is not offering anywhere near what this other school. And I'm thinking, okay, my sister gonna just draw a line. And so it's like peer pressure never stops. There's the concept that it's just for adolescents or younger adults, but you've got some folks who are chronologically grown, but because of the entitlement mentality of the society and the peer pressure, oh well, let me do no. You got a full ride over here. Where you going? Because the school and for what she wants to study, it's an excellent place to be. So I'm saying that to say that we all go through that process of having the opportunity to become economically mature. That's not the same as this wealth mentality that people try to throw out there. That's a relative term. But the mature part is it's what is the best decision for everyone involved? Because being mature, again, sometimes you say no. I brought up the thing about 2 o'clock phone call because I've been guilty of it. It took me a minute in ministry, and because I got so anyway. Long story short, it took me a minute to understand that no was okay, and why wasn't I saying no? What was I getting out of it versus the Creator? If I'm just gonna sit here and tell the truth.
Mhm. Thank you. The fourth one is political maturity. We talked a little bit about that, and we know where we are. And with that, kind of like the whole system as far as the government is an illusion. We learn one thing in the textbooks if we do take government in high school. And then when we get older, we forget everything we learned. And oh, anything goes. And we talked about the fact that the elections are rigged. We didn't talk about the, what do you call it, the electoral college and them making the final decision. Doesn't matter what the popular vote is. Um, and I have to say, it is what it is. And we have to, no matter who is in that building, that house, as long as we're in this land, we have to act like it's neither here nor there and do what we have to do as a community. And on that note, we're going to talk about cultural maturity. I was thinking about what Webster says about culture. Who's Webster? I don't know. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because we're gonna break it apart here. Culture, a particular form of civilization, beliefs, customs, arts, and institutions of a society at a given time. That's the number one definition. Agree or disagree? I'll say it again. A particular form of civilization, especially the beliefs, customs, arts, and institutions of a society at a given time. Cultural maturity provides a big picture perspective for understanding the times in which we live and what the future requires of us. People who don't know their history are destined to repeat it. We must reach back to gain knowledge, the knowledge of the past, and bring it into the present in order to make the future better, to make progress. You heard of Sankofa. Sankofa, S-A-N, to return. K-O, to go. Fa, to look, see, and take. In the common vernacular, we go back and get it and then bring it forward. Let us seek out our past, go back and get what was taken, to take back what was lost in order to protect our future. We've got to bridge the gap. So we had a little conversation just a few minutes ago about responsibility and making sure that our next generation is responsible for themselves and don't have unrealistic expectations of the generation that comes before them. What is it that what's back there? Some people don't even want to look back. What is back there that is fruitful and useful that we need to fetch?
Many things.
Many things that will help us mature.
I can give you one example. When I was growing up, we always ate together. Dinner. Whatever my mother cooked, we would eat.
Whatever.
I remember.
Everybody wasn't eating something different.
Exactly. I remember one time.
What you want? What you want?
Some liver and rice and onions. I love it right now. But back then, oh, I didn't want that. My mother made me sit at that table until I ate it. I didn't eat it, and I fell asleep around 9 o'clock. She said, "Okay, go to bed." Next day, she fried some chicken.
Mm-hmm.
You ate, and that's another thing. We ate together at the dining room table. Nowadays, and I'm guilty. When my daughters, when I raised my daughters, 'cause I was a single parent. They eating in their room, and I'm eating in my room. You know, they fixing what they want to fix, and I'm fixing what I want to fix. And that's the tradition. That we have lost as a culture, as a
And when
people.
you do what you do, you get what you get.
Exactly. I didn't.
So, what did you get that was different from the experience that you had?
um, a, a better relationship with what was going on in my daughter's head. Even though I don't have no grandkids, thank God, and they 29 and 26 now. But, there's a lot of things that they were doing that I wasn't aware of because we never sat down at the table and discussed it.
That's what I'm asking you. The departure from the custom.
Hmm.
What did you get as a result of departing from the custom? Have you
The
even
dis
looked at the connectedness or the family unit and its
disconnected. The family unit is disconnected. That's what I got. A disconnection from my family.
I didn't mean to put words in your mouth.
No, it is what it is. But I'm working on that now. But it wouldn't be as hard had I would establish that structure um, back then. But you know, um, I was going through a divorce, and their mother left them with me, and they were 3 and 6 at the time, and I'm raising two daughters by myself.
Are these your excuses
No, 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 no.
for deviating from what you were taught or exposed to?
I was
I'm teasing you, really, but I want you to think about that,
I was covering
honestly.
them. I was compensating
Mm.
for the
Mm-hmm.
lack of having both parents, in the same structure. You know, um,
There are others who are guilty as well.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to be transparent and
Mm-hmm.
fix my own dysfunction.
Okay. Anybody else think of something that, in terms of custom, that you that really really meant something to you that you didn't understand it then, but you understand it now? Yes, sir.
Yeah. I've shared this before. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse today, but and I've shared it with Father Anderson. Me growing up is a part of nurture that I didn't have by not having a father. I've
Mm-hmm.
never known who my father was, not never seen him, not nothing. See, when I grew up on a block where there was a mill in everybody's house but mine. Okay, so I saw the difference where, you have a two family household, and then with just me, my mother, grandmother, and my three sisters. That's that was on my block. And the one thing I said, the number one thing what people are not getting that we lost as a culture, and it's one thing to carry weight, it's the family name.
Hmm.
When the number one thing that we've messed up is your family name. See, when you live in a subculture, when I joined the military, that's a subculture.
Hmm.
I was
Yeah.
different. I was different, and some things happened to me that put a stigma on me. Just like I want to say, I've been taking notes. You say it's okay to say no.
Mm-hmm.
I did everything great, and I was always told no. So I don't. It's that's why I wrote it down. And I'm gonna go up a little further what we were talking about. And the first thing I wrote
But
down.
what he was saying is it's okay for you to
No,
say no.
that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's okay for them to tell me no. But see, I did it anyway. And we'll bring that. See, they know that's what they want. I did it anyway. No, the answer is no. When they say go to school, no. I was told no. If I wanted a job at the corner, no. But the guy next door to me, he could because his father. You see what I'm saying? When I went down to the school, I was told no. But the next parent, if his father go down to school, it wasn't like that. Your name carries weight. And everywhere you go, your name carries weight. See, my name, Gilchrist, it carries weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the number one thing. See, my children know. And see, that's what we'll do. You wait on me. Because if you do something, I'm not going to stand with you. And that's what we don't do. That's as a culture, that's what we don't do. We don't hold ourselves. See, everything we're talking about, we've done. No one else has done it to us. We've done it to ourselves.
So you're talking about the value of the family name?
The value of the family
Mm-hmm.
name in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
us as African Americans, your name, everywhere I go, your name, I've stood amongst people.
Yes,
I'm telling you, your
I have to
name
agree.
means everything. You know?
Mitchell. That's why I fought to keep it.
And see, one thing you said, and I go back to the mission statement. Even with this church, you got me to see, I raised my hand 11 times for the constant. See, you raise your hand. The mission statement, you're taking an oath.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yes.
You're taking an oath.
Come on, Doc.
And when you read it, every Sunday we read it, people walk out this door and they don't follow the mission statement. Because if you really, really follow that mission statement, it'd be more people in here. Because you haven't achieved
Yes.
social. Most of them is, you know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna be real concise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching a different course, but what I explained this morning is connected to what you just said. Ancestral worship or veneration.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
family.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
It's family name. There's
Yeah.
a reason. I'm not going to teach my course in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of someone else's. The point I'm making is what you are saying is correct. The larger piece I was going to say, every class that's being taught interconnects
Mm-hmm.
with each other to really understand what this institution, this movement, because it's not a church,
No.
what this movement is, which is to give you back a recognition of who you really are. And that's what that's religion, that's what it's supposed to do, is realign you to God. God emphasizes family throughout that book.
Mm-hmm.
And your name.
In your name.
That's why we attach ourselves and say, I am so.
Yes.
Yes.
Not my name is. I am.
To do that.
Mm.
I am.
I am.
I am. Everything. I am great. I am. That's what, because, you know, the notes.
We could talk about this particular subject all night, I know. Educational maturity. Get an education. We have heard that. It was drilled into us to get an education. But in all that getting, you need understanding too. And the education does not just take place at school. Education and maturity go hand in hand. It involves having the capacity for realistic thought and self-appraisal. That's real education. All that book learning, it might be useful here and there, but you have to be able to think and to appraise self. An ability to take a long-term view and independence and self-control under stress. There's some things you want to teach. ABCs, 1, 2, 3, math. But beyond that, we need to teach independence and self-control under stress. That's my submission. The environment that you learn in directly affects your educational maturity. My heart just, when I think about the environment that children are learning in, the homes, the schools, and all that's going on in the homes and the schools, it is affecting the maturity. There was a study conducted by a man named Lawrence Shields, which is neither here nor there, in 1971. A test was constructed which enabled a maturity score to be assigned to female students in their first and their third year of college. And it was found that the type of course pursued in college had no significant effect on maturity, but that students from co-educational secondary schools obtain higher ratings of maturity than from single-sex schools or single-sex girls' schools because they were looking at girls. Education is not just academic. You remember that program on television? It's academic. No, education is not just academic. And I am the product of Catholic school, kindergarten through 8th grade, co-ed. 9th grade through 12th grade, split, single. And then went to college, and that was co-ed, and I had to question my level of maturity. There were fellas in the neighborhood. I had men in my family, of course, but not having, I missed something by not going to school in a co-ed environment. I gained something. I gained some stick-to-itivity and some drive to, not look to the left or the right, because when I looked to the left or the right, everybody looked like me, so wasn't nothing to look at anyway. So I was graduated with honors, what else was I there for? But I was retarded in another way in terms of my growth and development. So I'm not making excuses for the bumps and bruises that I gained in my 20s and in picking a mate and all of that kind of stuff, But, I missed a step or two. I will confess. Did you have something you want to say? Oh, okay. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Somebody get that for me. First one to get it, let me know. Can you say it loud enough so that it can be heard at the back door?
How far?
Just 15.
Okay, does it start be eager to present yourself as acceptable to God, a workman who causes no disgrace, imparting the word of truth without deviation?
What version is that?
Oh, am I in the right one? Section Timothy?
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. I'm just asking because I'm not looking at a Bible right now. This is the New American Standard. Everybody got the New American Standard? There is a version that says, study to show yourself approved, a workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. It's probably the NIV. Okay. I mean, not the NIV. It's probably the King James. Or the New International Version, one of those two.
The King and the New International,
They're very similar.
in that particular verse, they agree.
Uh-huh. So.
I find King James strong. I prefer the NIV, but I always use my Catholic Bible.
How about we use them all so that we can, yeah. Let's do that. Let's not live in a box, restricted.
Even the children's Bible.
Yeah.
I lay it all.
Oh, go. That's studying, okay? That's a part of studying. So, I'm going to move on, but I want to encourage you to never stop learning. Psychological maturity. We could talk about that all night until tomorrow. It's defined as the ability to respond to the environment, aware of the correct time and location, to act, considering the culture. So, in some respects, culture has something to do with psychological maturity, as well as the circumstances that we find ourselves in. This includes the ability to manage emotions. It takes into account the requirements of societies because they are different from one society to the next, as well as the healthy development of individuals. One who is psychologically mature can create the life they desire. I submit that that is the goal of psychological maturity, to create the life that you desire. Success, as far as psychological maturity is concerned, is defined in your own terms, then, when you create the life that you desire, not society's, and then you achieve it. We're going to look at, we've been looking at the mission statement of Imani, but now when we conclude, I want to encourage you to look at the mission statement for Milton and for Adrian and for Teresa. I'm suggesting that we all should have a mission statement. We have one as a community, yes, but individually. See, apart from being unified, you are one. And so, we're on a mission. We're all on a mission, our individual ones as well as the collective mission. The psychological chains of slavery has and still does affect our psychological maturity. How so? The psychological chains of slavery has and still does affect our psychological maturity. PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder.
Or slave syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, well,
And I don't need
different people producing same result though. Yes?
yeah, but I don't need them to give me a handout, 5 acres, 1 acre.
No,
Leave me alone.
not a damn thing. Go ahead. I whispered that best I could. Did you hear me? You don't need to. I don't. My mama spoke that. I didn't. When you said you don't need nobody to give you nothing, my mama said something, but that wasn't me.
Leave me alone. I made my way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine.
And you gonna make your way.
Right.
I get it.
I don't want something from 400 years ago. Unless they're going to give it to my grandkids. Um, leave me alone. Let's see if you try to give me a piece of.
I hear you.
I venture to say anyone of us that can make that comment, and certainly I can't speak for your reality. The,
No, you can't.
the bigger picture is that there are many that have been fragmented,
Yes.
dazed, and confused because of a variety of variables that they don't have what I would call psychological maturity, etc.
Like I don't need nobody to give me nothing to open up the door, and I'll get it myself. But yeah, if you don't open up the door, I will kick it down.
You know, and so, but how many, and God bless, sincerely, and how many of us aren't in that mindset yet?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
My grandparents raised me to be that way.
Yeah,
no, I
yeah,
got you, and I'm not, Sister Harris, you are
yeah.
a tremendous
We were talking about
role
cultural
model.
maturity earlier before you came in.
And so
Yep.
when we look at, for example, what this course of the mission statement and its practical application, certainly you are a beacon of hope and light. And I'm not, I'm
No,
being
that's
sincere.
okay.
And so, but for the person who is not there yet, they're dazed and confused. There it is. There it is. Exactly. Exactly. Because someone's going to say, first of all, something I learned, somebody's learning from you that will never come and say anything to you.
I understand that.
And so it takes those who can exercise and walk that for those who cannot. And they get there when they get there.
Emotionally mature people take responsibility for themselves and admit when they are wrong.
Yes.
They recognize that they are biased. Each one of us is biased. We see things from our own perspective, you think. Yeah. They also acknowledge and communicate their feelings and needs in a healthy way. Some people are sick because they don't communicate their feelings. So they become unhealthy. And then there are others who communicate their feelings, but they acting ugly while they communicating their feelings. Set healthy boundaries. We talked about that earlier. Think things through. Grow in love and let love grow in you. That's psychological maturity. Set healthy boundaries. Think things through. Grow in love and let love grow in you. We have a lot of work to do. We're all a work in progress. And we just thank God for each day and the opportunity to do the work. We need resources to do the work. And we can serve as resources one to another as we share our testimonies with each other. But the main thing is growing, growing, growing. Do not be the same tomorrow as you were today. I could go on, but we only have 5 more minutes. I will say that on tomorrow's class, we are going to start talking about your mission. So you got some time to think about it. I have a handout for each one of you as far as the material that we've gone over thus far, over the last three sessions. And then we'll talk about your personal mission statement tomorrow. And I will share with you an example of a personal mission statement. And you can use it as food for thought, but you need to know where you're going. If you don't have a map that'll help you get to where you're going, you have to have a destination. And then you know how you do with your GPS. You put the address that you're trying to get to in there, and then it gives you a route. Yes. And if you focus on the route, you won't get lost. So that's, yes. Are there any questions or comments based on what we talked about tonight?
I found what you said to be very fulfilling and helpful.
I appreciate the feedback. I will be asking for feedback on Friday in terms of, what do you call it? It's just a short survey so that we can, huh?
No, this is very helpful for me.
Listen clearly. He wants a test. I'm gonna call this an assessment, okay? When you have less drama in your life, you have achieved what kind of maturity? Based on what we've been talking about. When you have self-love and high standards, what kind of maturity have you obtained?
That's still psychological.
It's also spiritual. Mm-hmm. When you complain a lot less, what kind of maturity is that?
Mental, spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Yep, both. psychological and spiritual. When you have found something that makes your life meaningful and you do it, what kind of maturity are you exhibiting? Mm-hmm. When the opinions of others have less effect on the decisions that you make in your life. When you are accepting that which you know cannot be changed. You are accepting of that which you know can't be changed.
You're not trusting your own instincts. So maybe that's spiritual.
But you are.
I am.
Yeah.
I would have.
You accept the fact that that which you know can't be changed. How about both? I not only know it up here, I know it right here. I'll take that. Emotional roller coaster of happiness and sadness in your life, slowly being replaced by inner peace. I should have a resounding answer to that.
Make a t-shirt.
We are on a boundless, endless journey. It never stops. No, I'm just saying. I know the test is over. You want some more?
But we wouldn't grow if we stayed in that same spot. So we got to keep moving.
I forgot to say when I was talking about the cultural piece that I like this book. I picked it up some years ago. It's called They Stole It, But You Must Return It. Richard Williams is the author. And let's see what year this book was written in. Let's see. What is the year on this? We're going to pray out. Oh, 1991. 1990. That dates me. Anyway, another book I want to suggest is for your reading is Brainwashed by Tom Burrell. And we actually had, we spent, what is it, the last fall going through that book and just looked at why we do the things that we do as far as dealing with one another, as far as our health is concerned, as far as our money is concerned. It's good for us to look in the mirror as often as possible. You know, that's not vanity to be looking in the mirror, because you need to see what you look like from one day to the next. And if you don't like what you see, you can make changes. I'm going to ask somebody to volunteer, please, to end this part of this class, to end this class in prayer and impose upon you to come up to the microphone to do it. Any volunteers? You can see I'll call on you all day because that's what teachers do, right? Mother Barbara, would you lead us in prayer to close us out? I know. But you opened up your mouth and you made comments on it, and now you don't want to be a part of the class. That ain't right.
I was thankful I was here.
And we are thankful that you were here as well.
Oh, Heavenly Father, we're so blessed to be before you today. This Imani family is an awesome family. When I come here, I just feel so embraced. I know I'm in the right
place. We thank you for the powerful information that was shared with us today. Some things we know, but it helps to just mix it up with somebody else or just bounce off of somebody else because that indeed makes us feel like family. We come up in here and you make us feel that we can share and that we are in the right place. I thank you for all of my cleric leadership here at Imani Temple and for those of us who come in. Thank you for this day. Thank you for all you have done, all you will do. In your Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. For anyone wanting to do the ancestral worship